How do you become a successful day trader? This is a question that every trader asks themselves, whether they're new or they've been doing this for a long time. And hey, you're in good company because finding a good strategy is very difficult. Just look at some of the biggest names in this space, like Jim Simmons. It took him and his company decades to get to where they are today. Here's the thing. I wish I could just give you a strategy. It'd be like, here's what you do. You just do that all the time and it would always work. But that's just not the way that this works because the market is a competitive place. There's only so much edge that can be pulled out of any one inefficiency, and we're all competing for that money. This is a huge problem for any strategy that becomes popular because everybody trading it is going to remove that inefficiency from the market. That is why the most important thing I can teach you is how to develop your own strategies. And this is a step-by-step process that you go through every day. I am starting this series to teach you how to develop your own strategies. And the first step in developing your own strategies is research. You're going to have to learn a lot. Unfortunately, this is where a lot of retail traders kind of get started on the wrong foot. They'll look in the wrong places and they'll rely on sources that just aren't very reliable. So today we're going to talk about how to conduct effective research so that you don't waste any of your time. So let's do it. Hi, I am Speculator Seth, and before I get into anything else, I want to apologize to my long-term subscribers. I haven't made any one-off videos in a while because the baby won't let me record. But he's asleep right now, so hopefully we can just knock this out and get it done quickly before he wakes up. I also just had issues with trying to fit this all into one video. Originally it was going to be one big video, but once I started writing it out, I realized that I'm going to have to split this up. So today we're going to talk about research, which is the first step. And then future installments, we will talk about development, testing, and maintenance of your strategies. So make sure you're subscribed and click that bell icon. That way you'll be sure you don't miss future installments. And of course, guys, if you enjoy this comment, please be sure to click that like button. That really helps me know what kind of content to focus on. I only have so much time. There's lots of things that I want to go into. So I'll kind of want to prioritize the things that you enjoy the most. So please click that like button, subscribe. It really helps the channel out and it helps me know what kind of content to create. Now, before I get into research, there's something that applies to every step of the development process that's really important we talk about first, and that is write things down. I highly recommend having a notebook of some sort. I really like this one because it has graph paper in it. There's something about writing things down that really helps you process and remember things. So I would really encourage you to have a physical written record. Now, that's probably not going to be enough, so I would also recommend that you have some sort of digital records too. So for that, I use Evernote. Another thing that I like to use if I'm trying to organize things around or I'm working with other people is Trello, or if I'm really going to be hardcore, I can use Jira and Confluence. But really, Evernote is a really great application. You can have it on your phone and on your desktop so you can write things down whenever you need to. And the digital record is something that you can go back and erase and rearrange in ways that is hard to do on paper. But writing things down is really important in order to work efficiently. So you're going to learn a lot of things. You're going to have a lot of ideas, and the ideas that you implement can get really complicated. And so it's really necessary to write things down to keep track of everything. So if I am reading a book or I am doing a webinar, I will take notes. Mostly because otherwise I would fall asleep, but that's how you remember things. That's how you go, okay, this is something that I need to go and try and test out for myself. So yes, keeping records, absolutely essential. Now, to develop good strategies, you have to come up with good ideas. And of course you're thinking, no duh, Seth, but how do I come up with those good ideas? Well, the first part is you really have to know what's out there. Now, there's a couple of levels to this. When I am developing my own strategies, I always split things up into three components. So there is the data that this strategy is using, how you are analyzing the data, and how you manage your position. When you split things out in that way, you're going to realize that there are edges that you can test and things that you can do to try and make your strategy more efficient at every step of the trade. From this alone, you're going to get a lot of ideas to start with. I also really like this short document from Blue Mountain Capital called Who is on the Other Side, and it breaks down the different ways to get edge. And I just love this document because every time that I read it, I have new insights and I'm able to say, okay, yeah, this is a place where I think I can have an edge, where I should start to direct my efforts. The last thing that I find really helps give you an idea of kind of what is out there is to read history about the markets. Not just about how the market has developed over time, but about specific traders' biographies, about big hedge funds and quant traders. And this is going to give you a little bit of insight into how they were able to find their edges and what sort of things they use that will kind of give you some ideas as to where you think you should focus your efforts. I've been reading a lot about Jim Simmons lately. Also, I really love Patrick Boyle's channel because he goes into a lot of stuff like this. If you guys have any suggestions about big traders or history that you think would be useful to new traders, please put them in the comments below. So really, you're going to find a ton of ideas, and the problem for me has never been finding new things to test. The problem has always been, what thing should I test next? What is the thing that's going to have the greatest probability of helping me? And this is the really hard part. This is where I find that so many retail traders get it wrong. They start out by saying, let me search Reddit or YouTube for the best strategies, and I'll use that to learn. And that's just not an effective way to find good strategies. Yeah, I know it's kind of ironic, a guy on YouTube telling you this, but most of what you're going to find on YouTube about trading strategies is complete junk. Again, the market is a competitive place, so any strategy that is worth anything, if it became popular on YouTube, would stop working. So where should you look? And I always recommend look for empirical evidence. Now, empirical means that you can examine and verify the evidence for yourself. So a lot of people will say, well, let me go and find a trader that is already successful and look at what they're doing. And that would be evidence, but it's not empirical evidence, right? That's anecdotal evidence. Maybe that person got lucky. Maybe they're lying to you. Maybe there's something about what they're doing that you're simply not going to be able to duplicate. There's a lot of factors in there. So really we want to focus on empirical evidence, studies that show properties about the markets or models that you can see the results from. You can look at how it behaves over a certain data set, and then you can turn around and try and apply that to your own data sets. One of the best places that I have found to look for empirical evidence is scholarly studies. So I will get on SSRN or just Google Scholar, and I will start searching for keywords relevant to the topics that I am interested in, and you're going to find more studies than you have time to look at. Plus, new research is being released every week. So for instance, I really like to read about market microstructure, and I will put a link down in the video description below where I go and I read all of the new studies on market microstructure. Now, reading scholarly studies can be very difficult because they're often going to be dealing with subjects that you're not very familiar with. Some of the language is going to be things that you've never seen before. They might reference other studies. So when you run into these issues, I would recommend just write it down in your notebook and then keep reading. Finish reading the study, and then afterwards you can go back and you can go and read the other studies that they reference, or the mathematical concept that they reference that you don't understand. And this is how you're going to build your knowledge base. Yeah, this can be a very tedious process, but if it's something that you're dedicated with and you do day in and day out, you're really going to expand your knowledge, and soon you're going to be caught up with the scholarly world and you're going to learn a lot this way. Remember too that scholarly studies don't have to just be about statistics, all right? I rely mostly on news for my trading, but there are a lot of studies out there about news, about how markets reacted to certain kinds of market events in the past. So there is a lot that you can learn from scholarly research. Now, as you research, it's important to always keep in mind the competitive nature of markets. Remember, something that isn't widely known is more likely to give you an edge. So I'm always going to prioritize new or obscure ideas when I'm doing my research. It's really puzzling to me that so many retail traders focus on ideas that have been around for over 40 years now, like RSI, and they completely ignore some of the more recent developments in the industry, like optimal execution or Markov models. And yeah, that means that sometimes you're going to be dealing with some really complicated concepts that I myself sometimes have a great difficulty with understanding and applying, and it makes me wish that instead of going into computer science that I had gone into financial math or statistics or something like that. This is the challenge of a competitive intellectual game. You have to know things that other people don't, and yeah, it's hard, it's a grind, but I personally enjoy that grind. I really feel that to be successful at trading, you have to embrace that process and don't let not understanding something deter you from continuing to push forward. Luckily for you, the vast majority of retail traders don't do these sorts of things. They waste their time with ideas and strategies that we could probably write a quick back test up in 5 minutes and prove that they don't work. So that leaves you a lot of room to be able to gain an advantage over other traders through your research. So I hope that this gives you some good ideas about where you can start digging and researching for edge, and it renews your resolve to work hard to find an edge. I'll see you guys every morning when I stream 8:20 to 10:30 Eastern time, and in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.